everyone. My name is Auldyn Matthews-McGee. I am an assistant teaching professor here at Carnegie Mellon University, and I'm actually going to be introducing a concept called experience aesthetics, which is a design taxonomy that me and my dad, who is a professor in interior architecture at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, have created to help meld together the design disciplines of physical and digital spaces. And a lot of our inspiration actually came from video games because that's how we connect as a family. We actually had the chance to present this talk as like a 25-minute session at EDRA, which is the Environmental Design Research Association conference this year in Mexico City. And this is us actually getting to co-present there this summer. So let's go back to 1997. Like I said, this was a common way of how we connected. It is 1997, I'm a little kid, and all I want to do is beat my dad at GoldenEye 64. And it was this really interesting experience, this particular game, because it was a really strange dynamic my family had coming together around this video game. Me and my brother, who's a couple of years younger than me, we really wanted to beat our dad. That's all we wanted to do for years and years. My mom kind of watched in this like delightful horror from the couch at her young kids playing this violent video game. And my dad was just so happy to get to spend time with us after a long day. And so this moment really stuck with me throughout my childhood and into even my college career. And so if we fast forward to the year 2008, all I really wanted to do in college was learn about video games. One of my undergraduate degrees is actually in psychology, and I've found the psychology behind video games really fascinating. And so I was studying in a class, and they introduced this framework called the MDA framework, which stands for Mechanics, Dynamics, and Aesthetics. Mechanics and dynamics have to do with the rules and kind of systems, commonly what we think of when we play video games and other games. But aesthetics was different. They describe it as the desirable emotional responses evoked in the player when they interact with the game system. And it really surprised me, this wide variety of different ways we could think about having fun in games. And so it really got me thinking, like, wait a second, what do you mean aesthetics aren't just about visual beauty? And so that question also stuck with me as I reflected and thought about that experience I had as a child. And then I come to 2015. So I actually graduated from the MHCI program in 2013, and I became a UX designer, primarily focusing on healthcare UX design. And I had to lead the design of a really radical new app. It was called Geisinger Health Systems Proven Experience. And the concept was very strange, particularly for American healthcare. Geisinger wanted to actually provide refunds to patients who were unsatisfied with their medical care. If anybody knows about American healthcare, you know that's a really, really crazy idea. And so we had to create an app where patients could actually request that refund. But as I began to explore and do research about healthcare, it kind of didn't fit. It was like, how do we put transaction in what's very much a service-based culture? Healthcare is about caring for people and providing them these safe spaces when they're very, very vulnerable. And so I thought back to aesthetics and I thought, well, wait a second. Is this really about just giving a refund, or is it about something bigger? And so we reframed the problem, thinking about how we wanted our patients to be experiencing this idea of getting a refund, to actually about listening to them, to thinking about this opportunity even after they've been treated, to still take care of them and understand what their experiences were like. So we built this refund aspect into a larger app where you could actually provide feedback, give specific information, and if prompted, ask how much you would like for a refund. So I talked to my dad a bit about this project at the time, and I was like, hey, this is really interesting. I had to do this reframing, and it was in a way I never expected to. And he was like, wait, I've been thinking about the MDA framework from a book I was reading. And it reminds me a lot of my interior architecture research in Japanese tea houses. That's what he did his master thesis on. And it's really interesting because he's like, one of the examples of the experience design of the tea house is actually how folks would come in. You see here, this is actually the door of the tea house. It would require everyone entering to bend over to enter. which meant that no matter who you were in society, no matter where your status was, everyone became equal when they entered the tea house. And for ancient Japanese cultures, that's a pretty radical notion to have people be equal in this space. And so we asked this question, like, wait a second, if we're on this idea of aesthetics and what it could really do, what happens as technology starts to blend into the environment, right? How will we design for both digital and physical environments coming together? And so we started doing research, reading a lot of books, and we found this really lovely quote from The Aesthetics of the Familiar by Yuriko Saito, where she talks about the need to restore aesthetics to its original task, which is investigating the nature of experiences gained through sensory perception and sensibility. And so we created experience aesthetics. We're making something. We're very much still in the stages of this. You can go to experienceaesthetics.com. We're actually creating a catalog similar to how the MDA framework has a few of the varieties of aesthetics and games. We're doing the same for experiences. So we have a list, and with the help of ChatGPT, we've actually described for each one the essence and 5 common elements or core elements to the experience aesthetics here. And we're actually integrating it into both interior architecture curriculum as well as interaction design curriculum here in the HCII. And what we're hoping at the end of the day is how we can understand and catalog the whole holistic nature of experiences so that we can design with intention and definition and really think about human experience as not just, being able to complete a task, but really getting these feelings and sensations. Because if we can do that effectively, students can then uphold human values through design and technology. Thank you so much. I look forward to any questions you may have.